like to call the meeting to order, please. Welcome to those of you who are here. We really appreciate it. Tonight we're going to be talking about presenting to you what the various warrant articles are, and then hearing from you any comments that you have about them, where you might see errors or things that you wish would be different. We're going to start with the operating budget because that's the most money. So we're going to be talking about the proposed operating budget for the next fiscal year, which begins July 1st and goes through June 30th. Let me just say, the RSA says we're the budget committee. We have two members who are not here tonight. They both had conflicts because it's a Tuesday instead of our usual meeting day. The RSA says that the purpose of a budget committee is to assist its voters in the prudent appropriation of public funds. So to get to that point of assisting you, what we do is first the school board sets its goals and priorities. The administration makes a budget recommendation to the school board, and the school board and the budget committee both ask questions about the superintendent's proposal. We get detailed answers from our administration, and then the school board recommends a budget to the budget committee. Then the budget committee deliberates and recommends a budget that meets the educational needs and respects the burden on the taxpayers. All three parties, the administration, the school board, and the budget committee, agree on this proposed operating budget. The operating budget proposal is for $36,416,372.88. It is a 0.05%. Is it? It's a 0.5, isn't it, Tom? I think I have an error there. 0.54. So there's an error there. I apologize for that. The difference from the current budget is an increase of $192,746.88. There's a default budget, which is higher. It is $663,425.23. That's a 1.2% increase. And the difference between the two is $247,052.35.
Annie?
Yes.
That slide is not up.
Oh, it didn't. I'm sorry. It didn't. Wow, what's going on there? Thank you for telling me. It's not it. All right. I had this all. It was here at 5:30 to make sure this was right, and look what's going on. Let me pull it up. I'm going to start opening it up. Thank you for telling me. Okay, slideshow. Fortunately, you folks have the papers in front of you too. Okay, so here we go. This was the budget process. This is the budget proposal. And you can see that the proposed operating budget is $247 and change less than the default budget. We are going to be discussing the default budget. Larry Heath from the school board is going to be discussing that in a few minutes. The school board goals are, this is in a brief what they are. First was to reconfigure grades pre-K through 8. Second, to reduce and or eliminate underutilized property. And third, to improve and measure student outcomes. New initiatives to help meet those goals that are in the budget are reading and math intervention to be increased by $950,000. Now this has an asterisk because there's actually about $16,500 that is not directly for the intervention. But that amount, the $950,000, is targeted intervention for students. Currently, what we have is we have classroom instruction per normal, and we have special education. We have a little bit of intervention that's going on at the high school and with our math coordinator at the lower grades. But this goal is to have targeted, serious intervention to help kids get up to grade level who are not, and then to free up teacher time to be able to give enrichment to some of the kids who are already at grade level. The overview of the two-year plan to implement this intervention is first, there are reorganization savings for the elementary. It's $658,000 estimated. For the middle school, $748,000, totaling $1,400,000. There'll be one-time construction costs of $720,587, new expenses of $16,500 plus the interventionist, $950,000 for interventionists, totaling $966,500 in new expenses. So out of that $1.4 million, there'll be $439,500 that will actually be savings for the taxpayers. The high school construction, how it's being paid for as a part of this 2-year plan, is in fiscal year 18-19, the school board reserved $190,000 from unspent funds that were encumbered to begin construction. At the end of last year, there was money left over, and they encumbered $190,000 to begin the construction. In this current fiscal year 19-20, the administration has set aside $540,000 of current budgeted monies to handle the needed construction here at the high school to move the middle school here. It's grades 7th and 8th grades. And in next year, the plan is to complete that construction, begin the intervention programs as savings are being realized, and then to the following year to have full implementation of that intervention in fiscal years 21-22. The budgeted savings in this year's budget is going up, as was discussed. However, it's not going up as much as the default. And the reason is that there are some savings that are being put into place. The reason the budget is going up is because we have a teacher's contract that we passed last year and a support staff contract. Those are in the budget now. There will be a reduction of 2 staff for savings of $205,979.64. There'll be savings from closure of the middle school of $132,764.42. And there's a new cost of $57,000 for rental for the central office up at Carriagetown Plaza. So the net savings in this 2021 proposed operating budget is $281,744.06. The next year, there's anticipated that other savings for that total of the $439,500 that we discussed that was coming back to the taxpayers out of the reorganization, and that amount that would be left to be saved next year is another $157,755.94. The default budget is $36,663,425. Again, the proposed operating budget is lower than the default by $247,000 and change. The proposed operating budget, again, is $36,416,372.88. We're going to have Larry come up now and speak about what a default budget is.
With the passing of the SB2 bill was a result of fewer and fewer voters attending town meetings. The SB2 is actually a 2-part project. It has the deliberative session, which is similar to the traditional town meetings. All articles are explained, discussed, debated, and amended, and then placed on the ballot. The second session of the SB2 bill is the official ballot. It is voted on, and if it passes, it becomes the operating budget. If the proposed budget is not passed, the default budget becomes the school budget. The default budget is regulated and formulated by state statute, which determines what cost items are included or not. As you've already heard, the operating budget is $36,416,372.88. The default budget, which is more, is $36 million. We all wish it was thousands. $36,663,425.23. The difference is an additional $247,652.35 above the proposed operating budget.
Okay,
That's all
thank you.
yours. Thank you.
As Larry said, the default budget is a statutory formula, which means that all expenses continue exactly the same on the same line items and every other thing as has been in the current year. And the current year happens to be a default budget, so we're still operating on the line items from 2 years ago. Default budget makes a few changes. If there are contractual changes, increases like to insurance or something, or like the teacher's contract, then those are added into the default budget. A change that happened a couple of years ago is that any staffing reductions of salary and benefits are removed from the default budget as well as from the operating budget. And that's been done in both cases, this one. Essentially, default budget freezes the budget at the previous year's level, except for the amounts the district is legally obligated to pay or which were one-time expenses. Operating budget pros are that it includes funding for academic intervention. It has line item accuracy. What line, I hope, if you don't know what a line item is, it's the actual code with the amount of money that's budgeted to be spent for that. It includes ice hockey funding and 6th grade athletics. It includes savings from the school reconfiguration, and it serves real-time needs. The cons of having a default budget are that it's higher, but it doesn't work. It ties the hands and eats up time for administrators as they have to shuffle around line items. Money is not aligned properly for programs, and it includes some line items that we don't need anymore, or that are misnamed, like new budget. The budgets are paid for, about 1/3 of the budgets are paid for by sources outside of taxpayers. About 2/3 is paid for by the taxpayers. So in this case, the revenue sources, there are local sources. There's tuition from the Fremont children who come to the high school. There's investment earnings for food service sales, surplus fund balance. The default and the proposed, all revenue sources that are not from the taxpayers are identical for both of those budgets. That doesn't get changed by which operating budget we have. There's also money from the state, which is adequacy aid, building aid, special education money, and child nutrition. The special education money is mostly catastrophic aid. Federal money is grants, child nutrition, special education. In the case of the default budget, the total amount to be appropriated and raised from Kingston would be $15,117,218. From Newton, $14,973,717. In property taxes, I'm sorry, that's for the proposed budget. I'm really not doing this very well. I apologize, everybody. The property taxes for the default budget from Newton are $11,506,507. I already told you what they are for Kingston for the proposed budget, and the property taxes for Newton total is $11,392,386. I would like to note that the revenue estimates are very, very conservative this year. This is the first year that we've had them this conservative with our business administrator, Mr. Angel. He has assumed that there will be no extra money left out of the budget at the end of the year that will be used to offset taxes next year. What he's assumed is just the $400,000 that has been set aside by the school board at the end of last year's budget is the only money that will be used from local sources to lower the property taxes. The probability of that is not great, but it's a possibility, and he wants to be the most conservative possible. So that's why we have that. As a result, our taxes that are estimated in this presentation may actually end up being lower than what's here. Maybe not. It's a possibility not, but it's probable given past history. The tax impact for a $300,000 house under the proposed operating budget in Kingston, the tax impact would be $183 or 61 cents per 1,000 of valuation. In Newton, it would be $210 per house. or 70 cents per 1,000 of value. In the default budget, it would be higher. In Kingston, $234 or 78 cents per mil, and in Newton, $276 or 92 cents per thousand. One of the things that the Budget Committee has been concerned about year after year is what happens when we have budget excesses or lack of restraint, and what the differences are when we do. And the biggest impact seems to be on the passing of teacher contracts, and many times getting default budgets instead of operating budgets and tying administration hands. So 10 years ago, from 2009 to 2014, when we made adjustments for the valuation changes over the years, we found that the school property tax increased 10.2% in Kingston and 15.3% in Newton. The outcomes of that is that there were 2 failed contracts for professional staff in 2009 and 2010. There were 2 past contracts for professional staff, finally in 2011 after 2 consecutive years of no passage, and then in 2013. In the more recent 5-year period, from 2015 to 2020, school property taxes increased 4.4% in Kingston and 3.3% in Newton. In that time period, there's been 1 failed contract for professional staff in 2016. However, that took place after the prior year deliberative session, where it's allowed to raise the proposed budget at a deliberative session by up to certain limits, which you will get soon. But voters seem to have, based on input that I know I received and others received, they were irritated with the arrogance of that move, and as a result, they refused to pass either the budget or the contract the next year. And that just punishes the district, it punishes kids, and punishes our teachers. Since that period of time, we've had 2 past contracts for professional staff, which is the teachers, in 2017 and 2019. And it's really important to know that there'll be another professional staff contract next year. That's one reason that we have the 0.54% increase in the budget. The recommended operating budget has more efficient use of funds for the needs of all students. The operating budget meets all needs and requirements. This is not a budget cut. It's an increase of $192,746.88. It is recommended by the Budget Committee, the school board, and the school administration. Again, that new contract negotiation is coming in 2021. So tonight, we tell you what we've been looking at in formulating the budget, and you get to ask us questions so that we can then meet and come up with what our proposed budget will be, that will be presented to you at the deliberative session. And again, as Larry had pointed out, at the deliberative session, you're free to deliberate and change it. You don't change it tonight, but you do give us input. Then on March 10th, there's voting at the polls for the budget proposal, and that comes out of the deliberative session, and all other warrant articles, and also for the school board and budget committee representatives, and for the towns. But that's it. Are there any questions or comments? Yes. Want to come up and use the mic?
Jamie Fitzpatrick from Newton. Just on your second to the last page where you said recommended operating budgets, this budget committee, school board, school administration. My only recommendation would be that for the budget committee, the school board, you include what the votes were. You said it's been approved by, but it might help to show what the votes are.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
So in that page there, it says recommended by budget committee. I would simply recommend that the budget committee include the vote. By what vote?
Okay.
Recommended by the school board, I recommend that you include by what vote.
Okay.
So that the people know what the votes were for those approvals. Just my thoughts.
Thank you. Any others? Mr. Ambrose. Pull up here.
Good evening, my name is Tom Ambrose. I'm the superintendent of schools. And I will just be sharing with you the other warrant articles that will be presented at the first deliberative. The first article is, you could just, so this is the election of the school district officers, standard warrant article. I'll go to Article 2. Article 2 is the general acceptance of reports, which is the standard second warrant article. Article 3, that's the budget that was already discussed or presented at length this evening. So
could I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure.
On this, it will say, and just so you know, as Jamie had mentioned, the budget committee recommends the budget 6-1. The school board recommended it unanimously 7-0. One of our members was absent, so that's why we're missing 1 vote.
So thank you, Mr. Fitzpatrick. Those are the slides that we'll use at the deliberative. And then the default budget calculation slide will explain the information that was presented earlier. And for Article 4, this article is regarding the Sanborn Regional School District Administrators formed a union and negotiated a collective bargaining agreement. The amount on the warrant for that is $14,355.59. And if you go to the next slide, it explains how that occurred. This is a 1-year agreement. The wage increase is 3.5%, and but the group agreed to take a lower cost health insurance option, so that saved $36,120.60. And some travel lines were reduced, so the total cost to the district for the 3.5% raise was $14,355.59.
Do you want to stop there and see if anybody has any comments
Any questions?
on this one? Are there any comments? Okay.
Number 5 is if should that fail, this gives us the option to have a that is really hot. Can I stand here? Can you hear me better now? It felt like it was really kind of picking up my voice. I don't usually need a microphone for those who know me well. Article 5 is the special meeting in the event that the administrator's contract fails. It gives us the ability to renegotiate with them and come back to the community. Article 6 is a very important topic. It's the sale of the Sanborn Seminary. The Sanborn Regional School District has negotiated with Eric Chinberg of Chinberg Properties, and the following are important points to consider. The selling price for the Sanborn Seminary is $200,000. This transaction does not include the Chase Fields. The district will lease back the Swayze Gym for $1 per year for up to 10 years for continued community use. And maintaining the Sanborn Seminary campus costs the district up to $200,000 or more per year. I actually went through and looked at 5 years of expenditures, and we have spent $1,129,448 on the seminary campus over the last 5 years. The seminary and science buildings need approximately $6,500,000 to be brought up to code for use. And the town of Kingston will have to pass a warrant article supporting the implementation of RSA 79E tax credits for this project to succeed. Mr. Chinberg is a developer who's done similar projects such as the Newmarket Mills, and he's actually also rehabbing a school in a nearby community at this time as well, a similar old school building. Any
Comments
feedback or
on that?
questions on
Any
that?
questions? Please come forward. You need Jen the mic so that we can have it in the recording.
Hi, my name is Roger Susi. I was just questioning what the, if there's been an assessment on what the impact of losing the Swayze Gym is beyond 10 years, when we have functions and activities there. What's the plan moving ahead for the loss of that facility?
So there's a question for the community that the community will have to answer in the future. And then there's an answer for the school district. The school district over the last 10 years has lost 400 students, and we are predicted to lose another 400 students in the next 10 years. Should that occur, we will not have any need for the Swayze Gym for our uses for the district. So the reality is that at the close of the leasing of the building for $1 a year, the community will have to work with Eric to make a decision about what the next steps are for that gym. Certainly, the district will have adequate gym space to house things like community basketball and other activities. We'll have 4 gyms for under 1,400 students. So the 2 gyms at the high school, one at the school in Newton and one at the Bakey School, one at the Memorial School and one at Bakey School. I'm not concerned about gym space in terms of availability. I'm more concerned about the community engaging Mr. Chinberg in a conversation right away, should he choose to purchase this property, so that you can make a plan for that eventuality in 10 years. But that would have to be the town of Kingston that does that, not the district. You're welcome.
Are there any comments or questions? Okay. Article 7.
Article 7, the Sanborn Regional School District is negotiating with an educational organization who would like to rent the middle school once it's vacated. The income generated by renting this building will allow the district to find a suitable tenant that will A, maintain the building at little to no cost at the district, and B, provide positive income to the district. So we are negotiating with someone, but we ask that this warrant article be wide open, so that should our negotiations with that group fail, we can change to a different group and keep moving forward. The last thing that we all want is another building kind of eroding in one of our communities, but I'm very optimistic that we will be able to successfully negotiate an agreement should this warrant article pass.
Are there any questions or comments on Article 7? There being none.
Article 8 is it's pretty simple. We'd be building a self-sustaining fund that would provide summer and after-school activity programming at no cost to the taxpayers. Essentially, what will happen is kids that participate in the programs will pay their fees, and those fees would be housed in this account and then used to fund future programs that would then generate fees to perpetually propel the programs forward without asking the taxpayers for monies. A lot of these programs already exist. This is just a more appropriate way to fund them. Is that correct, Mr. Angel? Did you want to share anything further? Okay. Yep.
Are there any questions on warrant Article 8? Okay, let's move forward.
Warrant Article 9. This article will allow, it's the same article as last year. We are hoping to continue to increase our reserve funds for unanticipated needs funded by the year-end surplus fund balance. There's no impact to taxpayers, except that what happens is our goal is to build our reserve funds to the point where we can actually start budgeting based on actuals from year to year. And our hope is to equalize the influxes in the tax rate. So if we do this properly, these reserve funds will help us when we have a problem. But the taxes, our hope is that our tax rate will stay more level. Right now, it goes up and down based on the different revenues and needs of the district. So we just recognize that growing these kinds of accounts takes time. So we're just asking to add a little more each year, and hopefully in a few years we'll be in great shape. Yes.
Oh, any comments on this one? I'm sorry.
So I was wondering how much money is in that fund now, and how much you anticipate will be in it when you stop adding money to it? Or is that
well, really, an organization of our size should have about 3.5% to 4% in reserves. So that would be about 1.2 million. And right now, I think we have roughly 200,000. Yeah. So it's important to note that that could exist in different areas. One area that might have reserve accounts is capital. So for the capital improvements for the building, should there be a problem. Another area is special education. We have about 230,000 in special education. And then another one is the general fund reserve, which is for the best example that I give people is if we start to tighten up our class sizes at the elementary level, and then we have a bunch of kids move in first grade, that's the account that we would go to with permission of the board to hire a teacher to offset if we had 9 kids move into the Bakey School in the last 2 weeks. I had one time as a principal, 15 students move into first grade over the summer. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, that's the type of account that would be used to help with those problems.
So just to clarify, the 1.2 million is amongst all three of those funds, not this one in particular?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, 1 point. It just as a rule of thumb, an organization of our size should have about 3.5% to 4% in reserves annually, and we are not even close to that. So that's why we recognize that this needs to be built slowly over time. We
Ellie,
did the special education fund of 230 was here when I arrived, but we started growing these funds, recognizing that that would support the type of budgeting that Mr. Fitzpatrick outlined in the school board meeting earlier this year when he did a very good and detailed analysis of the budget. We're headed for that goal of what he was talking about.
Are there any further comments or questions? Okay, number 10.
Again, this is same thing. It adds money to the reserve funds for unanticipated needs from the surplus fund balance. And this article is the capital component. So the one previously was, can you go back one slide?
Was education.
Yeah, so one is for general education, which would be such as the teacher need or a para for a student that has high needs. This one is adding money to the capital reserve fund.
Any questions? Comments? The last one is ice hockey, the ice hockey warrant, which is a petition warrant article. Do we have someone from ice hockey here tonight to present this to the public? Or I'll read it. You just said it. Okay. This is submitted by petition on behalf of the partially self-funded Sanborn ice hockey team and registered voters. They're looking for $11,068 to partially fund the high school ice hockey team. This was passed last year, but it was not Sanbornized. Sanbornized means making it into a multi-year funding. This would be needed, as said before when I was doing the presentation on the proposed operating budget. Should the default budget pass instead of the proposed operating budget, there would be no funding for ice hockey because ice hockey was not Sanbornized in the prior year warrant. So this warrant article is written to close that gap so that there would, in the event that there were a default budget, it would then be able to be put in every year for this partial funding for ice hockey. It's exactly the same funds as were approved by the voters last year for the current year. This would be just approving it for years to come. Are there any comments, questions?
I have one. Annie.
I'm sorry. Oh,
Behind you.
yes, Mary, sorry.
Thank you.
I forget, budget committee's here.
I think it's understood that this is to be enacted in the event that we, the voters, put forth another default budget to fill that gap. But is there anything in here that says that if we have the operating budget voted in and this warrant article voted in, that there's no double dipping? Is there an exclusion clause, or is it understood? How does that work?
Excellent question.
I'm Matt Angel, I'm the business administrator. Right in the middle of the article, it says if Article 3, the operating budget is approved by the voters, this article shall be deemed null and void.
Thank you.
So if it passes, it goes away. All right? Thanks.
I didn't look far enough. Thank you.
And I didn't read far enough. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Michael Gannon from Kingston. I just have a question or just want to understand something in hockey. Is it my understanding that Epping participates with Sanborn in our hockey program? Because I see on the schedule Sanborn/Epping. Okay. And what's their role in terms of the cost of this program?
That would be very good that's a good question so that it can be addressed at the deliberative session. This is a good time to help the people who will be presenting and answering questions and hoping for your positive votes and moving these forward to get the information out that you want to hear at the deliberative session. It's less a Q&A than hearing what it is you need to know. Is there anything else? There being no further business, The public hearing is hereby adjourned. The Budget Committee will be holding a meeting now up here. You're welcome to stay. It will not be a very long meeting, but we will be having a meeting. So I hereby call the Budget Committee meeting to order. It is 7:37. Can we rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance? We didn't do that in the public hearing. Our flag is well recorded. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Got messed up on my words there. Not a good day for me. Okay. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes from January 9th.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, so that's Mr. Heath and Mr. McCarthy. Let me pull up those minutes. Okay, here they are. Are there any amendments anyone has to these? Anybody have anything?
No.
We okay? Okay. There being no changes, all in favor of approval? That would be unanimous. Thank you. Next on our next for us to do is to vote if we have any changes to the proposed operating budget. We didn't hear anything from our audience at the public hearing giving us any input that they wanted anything changed. Could I have a proposal to move the operating budget forward as we have proposed it?
Move that the operating budget be moved forward as is.
And a second?
Second.
From Mary, okay. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, any discussion? I apologize. Okay, all in favor. So that would be unanimous. Thank you. And the last thing that we have to do is to look at our slides for the deliberative session and make any changes that you would like to see. I think probably the one that Mr. Fitzpatrick suggested might be a good idea. Is that work for everybody?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
It's just
not everybody's. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to speak out of turn.
What? Yes.
Not everybody's going to sit there and go through and make the comparison to your presentation here, and also have a viewing of this packet to realize that the votes are shown in here. So you may want to put them in there. Yes.
Yes, Cheryl?
Slide number 3, there was a correction in the difference. It was not 0.05%. I believe Mr. Ambrose said it was 0.54.
Yeah, it's 0.54. Yeah.
And then also slide 9, the default budget. I believe has 23 cents added to it. That's what was read.
Oh, I got, wait a minute, while I'm going by this one, I wanted to make this change too. This is a period and it should be a comma. 9. I'm sorry, what is it that you want here?
Slide number 9,
Yes.
default budget,
Mhm.
and 23 cents. 0.23 added to that.
Instead of, I'm sorry, on this one, on this line, the 247 instead of 35 cents is 23 cents?
No,
that what
one
you're
or the
saying?
other. No, on the top line.
Default budget.
Oh, the default budget is $425.23. Okay, thank you. Good. Is there anything else?
You need to also change that on number 1. That's also 35 cents.
2. This one. Yeah, this one says 23 cents.
Oh, okay. I looked at the wrong.
Well, let's just run through them quick. Okay, and I noticed that the one I pulled up for tonight is actually the one, this last slide is actually the one that I had sent out suggesting that we change the deliberative instead of saying that it was a public hearing to hear from them. So I said it verbally, it's actually the one that I'm proposing for the deliberative session. Yes, Cheryl.
I just wanted to make some comments on the talking points. On slide 12, for state revenue source, special education, you said that was mostly catastrophic aid?
Yeah.
I don't know if Mr. Angel can confirm or deny that, or
The special ed money from the state.
The state changed the name from catastrophic aid to special education aid. So this, the naming used up here now corresponds with the new nomenclature.
okay.
I do recall that.
All right, so we shouldn't say that that's special ed is mostly catastrophic aid. It's
It's
the new
what
name
used to be
for-
called Cat Aid.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I had one more on the talking points. I don't think that the chair should editorialize saying things like they were irritated with the arrogance of past budgets. I think
was
that
quoting people with what they had told me.
I don't have any proof of that, and I don't think that
You
that
don't
should.
need proof of it.
I don't think that should be presented in a public hearing or a deliberative session if that was things that you heard on the street. I don't think that that's appropriate for this body to be editorializing things like that.
What's the
I think we
feeling
have
of-
the facts here, and I think that should be sufficient.
Thank you. What's the feeling of the board, of the committee?
I agree with Cheryl. I do think it does seem a little editorialized.
Okay. How about Mary?
I think that there's no need for it.
Okay. I'm fine with it however you want. I'm just very passionate about not having this kind of dysfunction happen anymore, that's all. And I'm happy to do it however the committee wants me to do it. Yes.
I think it's adding an emotion into our presentation to sell to the public, and it could be taken the wrong way.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, that's fine.
Or against the,
Right. Okay, that's fine. I will take that. I will definitely take that into note. Is there anything else anybody has? Okay. Then the changes as done, are they accepted by everyone? Can I have a motion that we move forward to the deliberative?
Moving forward to deliberative.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's Mr. Heath seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? And that's unanimous. We have one more item of business, which is to sign the MS 27. This gets forwarded to the state, and it's the form that is used to determine what the cap is and how much somebody could increase the budget at a particular session. So I sent it out to you for review, and all we need is just signatures. And we can go ahead and sign these and adjourn the meeting. Yes.
Could we mix in a comment session here?
Oh, sure.
Would it be possible to have the nomenclature about if Article 3 is approved? Can we have that moved up to the beginning of the Article 11 description? Because as we saw, 2 members of the board lost that sentence when they were reviewing. When they looked into this, one of them, somebody stopped, you stopped reading because you knew what it was, you were comfortable with it. And I get a feeling that, other people that are just coming in to vote may not continue to read through all this and shoot it down.
By an ice hockey person at the deliberative session. We were just filling the gap tonight.
You have to be careful when you have a citizen's petition. You have to be real careful what words you change.
Oh, I don't want to change any of the words. I just
You
want
just
to move
wanna
it up
read the
to the
whole thing.
beginning so that when they start reading it, it gets into their head first. Because if they start reading this and they don't want to continue to read, I'm just thinking that somebody might go, I'm just going to vote no because I don't like the idea.
You know what? That's good, and that's something that could be changed at the deliberative session. It's a suggestion to put there. It's not our warrant article. We can't do anything with it. The only thing we have is the budget.
All right.
Okay. Yes, Cheryl.
Mr. Angel.
Trying to
sit
steer.
down. In regards to the default budget calculation, typically we have a kind of an itemized, and I thought that was required for the deliberative, not the public hearing, that the default budget actually, that's has like an itemized general, where that money is coming from and going to.
Okay. The default budget was approved by the school board, I think, back at the beginning of November.
But in the presentation, can we have that in the presentation instead of just that it's the same and this is the total amount?
That would be something to bring up to the school board. It's their presentation and their budget.
The school board presents that, it's not the administration.
Can Larry bring that back?
And that was where Larry was presenting,
Since he is
right here.
their representative.
Larry, if you want to do that, if you feel that that's a good idea, I'd be happy to, I don't know,
I'll get together with Matt and we'll talk it out.
figure out how you want to do it and pull it
And
out.
also the board chair. Because I have to do what the board says.
Right.
Not what
So
I-
as our representative to the school board, in the next school board meeting, could you
I will bring that up.
bring it up to them and ask if they could have a slide that details the default? It usually wasn't very detailed. It just said, again, the revenue and where
Contractual changes.
contractual changes was in like one page.
Is it similar to the one that we did during the budget presentation back at the beginning of November?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you could do it. I mean, one of the things we worked real hard on is to have 16 slides so that we could have front and back of 4 pages of paper. And we were trying to be careful about that. It could be just a piece of paper that's passed out, that's not a slide, that is just a piece of paper, and then Larry could read about it, just read through it, if that's what the board decides. Anything else? Okay. There being no further discussion, we will not have another meeting until the deliberative session on February 5th. Snow date of February 6th. The deliberative session is at 6 o'clock, I believe.
I'd have to look at the notice.
So you have to look and watch and see. No, I don't, because of course this is the slide for that one.
So for some reason I don't know if the schedule will change at some point, but you're saying there are no meetings until
Right.
February
Because
6th.
we have no business.
No business. Okay, that's fine.
That's why I called for this one tonight, because I thought, that it wasn't going to be very much, and it seemed kind of silly to
No, that was a good
have a
idea.
whole meeting.
I appreciate that. So February 5th. Okay.
Yeah. And the 6th is a snow day. And good idea to get here early if you don't want to walk across the whole parking lot, depending on what happens. But
Yes, that's quite true.
could I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
All right, in a second. Mr. McCarthy, all in favor? Have a lovely month.